시간 주시다.
아마 되네. 무슨 배배지 좋은 거야?
아,
배배
이게지.
가족관도 좋아했지.
가사보다 거의 나지.
너는 다 내버리지 알았어. 너는 추가지를 배우지 말았어. 추가지를 했어야지. 너는 저 lun지 했어. 너 대쇼기야. 너는 더 할게.
So we should begin with the Heart Sutra in English on page 2. Thus I have heard. At one time, a blessed one was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the blessed one was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of Ananda called profound spirits. At the same time, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage tree who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the venerable Shariputra to these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not different form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, and if this all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on, until no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, a mantra which calls all suffering should be known as truth, wisdom, and itself. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate aragate arasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva Mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, and his wisdom. Well done, for son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you were taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
Yala Juju Yane Roda Chiro Nimo Leje Choro Roze Mare Meze Duna Nyugo Chene Junze Adrena Dune Danje Sadyo Tas Yede Luzo Jase Kuyako Jada Jada Juni Gede Talo Meze Jame Yana Arabasana Arabasana
Continuing with the reference prayer on page 20.
Chödāṃ sōcī chödāṃ vā chāñcō bhāgō dāni chōsō dāgī chīcī jīvē sōnāṃ rāvā pēncī sāñcī dhūvā chödāṃ sōcī chödāṃ vā chāñcō bhāgō dāni chōsō dāgī chīcī jīvē sōnāṃ Rala Benjire Sanjay Ruparai Cheda Soje Chonama Janjo Bhargo Dhani Dage Cheje Jeve Sonati Rala Benjire Sanjay Ruparai Natari Shote Tsigi Tanjana Madula Sokombajas, Madula Sokombaja, Yada Sova Jambai, Mojo Tabra Sibaja, Tombani Jini Boji, Jebe Suna Tabanjus, the Gorma, and the Shoina, Madula Sokombajas, the Madupa Moya, Tala Sobashana Mobus Mare, Sodanada, Moboju Vaje. So the Madu Pasade Yedamoma, Tabres, or that village now, Maduba, the Chapin Nibore. So you can gradually money, she will charge which was yes or not. And then you use the Dutch son of coin, only a charge of the Yodel Chadi at the middle of Kawarwa. Kwa rishi lo khadya ne mata chigi mune ya shuma lo de yenta gansu choyu begara ya chabanga na ngai ko je ngwa sedan chaba je sa yetta mune madu pa ko ina ane shuma yetta tene chaba de majo ko to ro sedan madu pa sa de yedo mo ma sa ro na sedan na madu chaba je yo Mamoshiva, Zuratini Chavajo, Dala Chavajo, Dela Chavajo, Rola Chavajo, Richard in Chavajo, Damas, Zuda Terror Jasne. All the day do Zuratini Chavajo, and then Kaman Chavajo, Zutella, Money Tele, Zutegi, 무인의 단가에도 어디서 다시 유나네 아니 그 마다베라지 예바 아니 마다베지 네 내가 예바 안데서데 타르고빈 들어야지 저절에 차와이나 아니 소소 내가 코리아 라니네 두네 프렌디아지 마도 데지 요야메바 어디라기 저다 차바지가 요들라문이 모두 보고나 그 준세네 맞지 공부도 준세지 메디 우수지와이나 어디다 저게 여봐라 다 우수지 제가 준세 토와이나 소소 모두 보고와이나야 강에 메바 근데 공원나 시기 그 된다 루트야 근데 가디는 대인들 통은 가디는 되게 좋아지대야 다들 문에 레시 토마토도 문 다들 시시하고 차게 누워서 어떤 저단 준중이다 준중 제가 나이네야 근데 무슨 가르쳐 류기 님보다 더 먹고 손으로만 제가 다 준중들한테 오늘 준중들한테 다니 다고 이렇게 정말 해도 제가 뭐 뭐지 되는 런 일이야 준중 되는 준중들한테 다니 런으로 손으로 저도 기초 말도 와대를 간다지 모두 봐서야 돼 소소 요 가는 데니 차가 지고 요이나 된데 요들은 뭐니 대여도 뭐가 돼야 돼 얘도 뭐가 돼야 돼야 인생님이 타네 아니 얘도 뭐가 돼야지 맞다 지금 요소진이 왜 관하지 말아야 돼
So in the verse 2021, you should know the position of purified by making right livelihood pure and purification of goodness, happiness through motivation, whose nature's emptiness and compassion. So before we discuss on this verse, let's talk once again about the last line of this verse 20, which is meditate on fullness and so on. So this is one of the very important statement or important advice, in other words. It's meditate on fullness and so on. Because normally in our day-to-day life, the problem that we face or the problem that is created by our attachment, and attachment is the one that is root cause for our day-to-day problematic situation. So when it comes to attachment, there are primarily 5 different objects to whom we generate attachment, such as form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Those are the 5 primary kinds of objects where we generate our attachment towards. So, first of all, what suggests here is meditate on fullness and so on, is to apply antidotes towards this attachment. What it says. It just happened suddenly. It was not like that. Maybe 10 minutes ago. Just keep sneezing. So it's a
He just speaks so softly that it becomes a problem anyway. It's up pretty loud.
Because-
I keep asking you to speak a little more loudly.
Does it amplify or does it just collect the sound?
It's amplified.
Can it be pulled any closer?
Well, let's ask him to speak up a bit.
이게 나온다 쇼에서
근데 이게 근데 매다 뒤에 매 다들 저기로 있었어.
Our hearing is quite bad, so if it's possible for you to speak louder. then-
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you hear my sneezing though?
I heard your
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, right.
Your sneezes were-
Sorry about that. I was not sneezing at all. I don't know what happened. It just suddenly it
It's
just,
summer.
Allergies, probably.
yeah, it just got it. So 5 kinds of objects to whom we normally generate our attachments. And so the line that we read earlier is suggests the importance of applying attitude towards that's attachments. Is that okay? You guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
good.
So, because if we remain unaware of that, and if we remain, unnoticed, that how attachment is generated with regard to those different kinds of objects, then the happiness we long to achieve will never happen. This is what is happening for all of us. We long to achieve happiness and overcome suffering. Yet at the same time, we're not giving a heed, or we're not paying attention, and we're not taking serious of applying antidotes towards those attachment generated towards those 5 objects. And then we keep thinking that why am I not being able to achieve happiness that I long to achieve? So therefore, this last line is very important in advice that's given for us as a practitioners. It says, for instance, if one has an attachment towards this form, and think about the form or the physical form to whom one generates attachment, one should think about the actual reality of that form. Is that form that really exists as you think that exists? Is that form to whom that I generate attachment? Does it really exist as it appears to my perception, or as it appears to me? So this is how we need to investigate, and investigate introspectively, and think about the actual nature of this form being impermanent. When we generate attachment towards a form, and that actually, prevents us from reflecting our mind upon the actual nature of the form, and not letting us to understand the impermanent nature of the form, the transient nature of the form. So if one is able to know the transient nature of the form, the momentary, change of the form, then one will one will come to understand that regardless of how attractive that form may be, but at the end, it is nature of impermanence. It's nature it is a transient nature, momentary change. So think about then if one remains under the influence of this attachment, then this will not give us any benefit. It in fact harms us, harms us present and as well as in the future, in the long run, long term. So on the basis of understanding those reasonings, if one can apply antidotes towards the attachment with regard to form, then when we are actually engaging in this practice of applying antidotes, one will not have any hesitation. One will not have, in other words, one will not have any sort of second thought of whether it is right or whether I should apply antidotes towards or not. One will do so willingly and, in other words, delightfully, based on reason. So, and this part of the explanation, it's a very detailed explanation that one could find. It's in chapter 8 of Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. How do we apply antidotes towards afflictions with regard to form, affliction with regards to one's affliction with regards to the body, and so forth. Therefore, he's always when I remember when he gave a teachings in Buddha, and he has mentioned very clearly that if we can study, although the one may is receiving the teachings from this Siksa Samuccaya, but when one is actually studying this, when one's actually reading, one should read those two, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life and the Siksa Samuccaya together. That will be very, very helpful.
그다음으로 차번째서는 여다라는 분이 모두가 공안라서 그거데 또다 란주기 차선유마들만 신이 있는 라는 주역들이 되고 산지고 못해야 통수 그거 준비하는 지는 너무 좋았더라만 주역들이 되고 산지고 못하는 지는 안에서 이제 탐지가 된 매매도 모두가 주는 거 여러 가지다 말하면서 산지고 쉬어서나지 된다지래 이내다 뭐 이다도 된다지래 돼 이내 다다다디 것들 다 모아줘야 세제 탐지기 쳐도 상관을 가버려 주는 데인데 라는 수지자네 차선 유목물이 제가 있나 자연도 따와 있나 소설이야 대지로 가서 용어 동료로 가서 용어 그래서 신유지 제가 이렇게 좀 그러셔 제가 상상하면서 자세를 보시고 좀 멋지지만은 저는 공로 먹어라 지금 아재 타원으로 이제 시안에 약하서도 보죠 농도가 나한테 집에 주는 돈 아니 원단이야 먹고 가리는데 대다들 말이 않고 아니 대왕이 가라사야 산에 매만하고다 아니 가라도 아주 사와이네 지금 들어가고 나타다 내가 맞지 만주 가르거든 가리는 집에 방어도 했어 야 장는 거잖아 내기 강에 생강에 나 대제매 아니 묘기 또 냥로야 저도 의미에서 뭐 저도 용도 못 쓰고 그래 용도 자 저도 유명한 게로 가는 로에게 다셔도 같아서 그래 long long, and then control the larger the deck you want it. And you go to the dam have a chair, and that's what Lord was going on with chair. Junior Swan cut the juice in it, cut the Magachi was in the chair where came out chair. Juice me in there, cut the Magawa, the Majority Jimachi. A carriage go Jim Duno is on a carrier, you cigarettes. Chatham ambition never into my was there. Just 10 days and the Hadagi. Kitchen is the Chatham, 10 days and the George Leo Carina Yunus Sledge, Zambitually in a Carina Yunus yet. Dojan in a Carina Yunus search. Chatham Jawas on it now. Jawas on a time because of a 10 days and I kill him. And the Jawas was the Tamaya Wajuna. And the Zambucha Carina Yunus edge. So he tending a Naja, landing the Toga Naja Yapochi, Mangini, Toji, Chibija Chuluina, and they won't be Gemulation to doing a whole parting age. But Toji is also so catchwine, so some of the Jibia Gangete, Chason Yumon, Kishon to Sumaina, and so they are coming more in there, doing more in there, and the people acquire one each other in the American, and then China, and so they did more to the English. The next being into each other, and there should need to live in Tony. Such a time to him, to the not window, and get out the number one. So there are names in the Nadia, Mercedes, the relation of Chichibochi, Papa Wachitoria, Chia Davos, one of what you. So that China was not a of you in there. The nation Eugene is also and then was on Jawati, can I put it down with the nation? Die in the sort of Medina, Jimmy Sarah Kanyabadi, and Jonathan which is Toria, not to use Rachmore.
So the practice and the antidotes that we are applying towards other afflictions, this as a practitioner of the Mahima, is to attain complete state of enlightenment for the benefit of all of the sentient beings. And this is our purpose of practice. However, we as a initial practitioners or the ordinary practitioners, we may not be able to have this objective, but we should think about if we let ourselves remain under the control of this attachment and aversion, and how much suffering that we are undergoing. When we go through this mental and physical sufferings, for us, we always look for a condition that is coming from outside. Well, we think of all this, how our sufferings or problems are actually created by somewhere else. And we never think of the causes and conditions which give rise to these sufferings are actually within us, which is our frictions, attachment and aversion. And those are the ones that give rise to these are the actual cause. Of course, there are certain causes and conditions, external causes and conditions, which give rise to our physical, mental, particularly the physical suffering. But so far as the actual cause, the substantial cause of our suffering, physical and mental, is concerned, is within us, which is this is our own attachment and aversion are the ultimate cause for our suffering. So therefore, although that one may not be able to broaden one's mind, that one's purpose of eliminating those negative thoughts and emotions to get in a state of enlightenment, one should at least have recognition of those attachment and aversion of afflictions are the root cause of all sufferings. And then try to get rid of those sufferings. Try to get rid of those root cause of suffering. So most of the time, those anger, hatred, attachment are omnipresent in us. Can we really recall that we have not been agitated or annoyed even a single day? Can we recall that we are discomforted by discomforted by some other conditions, such as seeing someone whom you dislike and so on. And all this are not actually coming from outside, but we ourselves is creating those conditions. And then generating anger, which makes us unhappy. On the basis of this, of having generated anger, then we talk bad about other people. And that adds on. And then this will fill our mind. And finally, even so much so that you don't even want to eat. You even lose your, we even lose our appetite. And this is why this is happening. It is all the way we think. We have to think very carefully and wisely, as we find in the Guide to the Good Surface of Life. If there's something that is that can be fixed, and why worry about? Just go ahead and endeavor in fixing that problems. If something that cannot be fixed, it is not possible to be fixed, and what is the benefit of being worried about or unhappy about in other words? So for this, we should always remain open to our future, situations, something that may occur, something that may happen, something there's possibility of happening, either bad or good will happen. We should not fixate our way of thinking just by what I have planned to do this, I have to do that. What I have planned to do, it shouldn't go wrong, and so on and so forth. This is sometimes this is happening to us because this really makes me think that we are actually talking about law of cause and effect. We are talking about the causes and conditions. We are talking about dependent relations. But yet at the same time, when something goes wrong, when something that is not going accordingly what we have planned, then we become agitated and we become we think that we're so unfortunate we're unable to do this and that. That really tells us we're not really deepening insight into the dependent originations and not thinking about our cause and effect. Although we talk about cause and effect all the time, but we're not really reflecting on that. We should always remain open to, even though that I have this kind of plan, I may have this, but it may change. This may happen. Something may occur in between, so on and so forth. And we should always remain open to that, to really broaden our mind and really, lessen our, anxiety and unhappiness and so forth. So therefore, everything, whether it is bad or good, there's the possibility something may happen in the future for me and so forth. We should always remain open to our plan. So, in brief, if we let ourselves, let control by those negative thoughts and emotions, such as attachment and aversion, then let alone that we will be able to benefit all other sentient beings, will not even be able to benefit ourselves. So therefore, one should always think about, in this life, whatever the lifespan that is left, henceforth, I will do my best to make this, whatever the lifespan that I have, make purposeful and meaningful by engaging in my actions, positive or the meritorious actions of body, speech, and mind.
내일도 영어도 소소소소해야 샤세지야다. 소소소소는 이제 와인 쪽으로 제가 그때 내게 자손이 뭐게 시험을 따와이나 근데 라니는 동안냐고 여봐. 어디네 이제 소소소를 샤세지 소소는 이제 진단이야. 그래서 나에게 메시지 내용으로 빼놓고서 소소 보안님한테 집에이나 야나다나 가게 처음부터 소소 나사로 주는 때문에 가라데 소소랑 비슷한 맞나? 근데 나사 때문에 가게 미팅을 모주이나 소소 나사 도도로 아니 동네에 소소 영어로 와 제가 동네 고려 지하에 근데 명함은 뭐야다 간제도를 가게 처음인데 강에서 소소 영어로 해서 뭐 소소를 시작하지 소소는 이제 그래서 나산 되는 뇌를 가지 이제 지야지 요거로 어떤 식의 자선 요모때 강고 맞아지 자야도 담아이나 대용의 랭고 보여서 랭고 대용의 데뷔 동에데 라더 보여서 근데 동에도 소소 냐고서 강에 충분히서 되려다네요. 라니야 샤사지 들어오다네요. 자손이 뭐 어디 제인데 이거에 대해서
So one should have a genuine compassion for oneself by knowing that all the suffering that I'm experiencing is because I let myself take control of our negative thoughts and emotions. Our negative thoughts and emotions is the one that empowers me, and it is for this, thus I am undergoing sufferings. And if we have this, if we have a genuine compassion for ourselves, one should recognize that and try to get rid of that. For instance, if we are suffering from certain kind of sicknesses, although that we have to rely on our physicians, but actual treatment, actual care should be given by ourselves. One should take care of that. Whatever the physician has advised us, such as diet control and what should be eaten, what should be doing, and your day-to-day activities will be advised by that. But when we are actually, doing it, we ourselves is the one who should be the doer. Not someone who will just, do it for you, and then you will be, your sickness will be overcome. This will not happen. So we have to take care of our health, just as we need to take care of our health by controlling yourself and not, controlling yourself and being cautious about what you're eating, drinking, and so forth. Similarly, one should think of these negative thoughts and emotions are the one that give rise to all kind of unwanted situation. It what puts you into the situation where you do not want to be. So, so this is how we should always examine ourselves and try to have a genuine compassion for oneself. Because if we have the genuine compassion of ourselves, then we will always look at the cause that give rise to sufferings and try to get rid of that. that is what we should do. Because if we are not being aware of that, then we follow whatever that is ordered by our negative thoughts and emotions, and our actions of the body, speech, and mind will become negative. As a result, we undergo tremendous amount of sufferings without a breath. So therefore, if we have a genuine compassion for ourselves, we should look for those negative thoughts and emotions and identify those negative thoughts and emotions and get rid of those negative thoughts and emotions from our stream of being.
다들 양다 좋아 장바이 시서드는만 간 조송은 가정도 동봉 거절이야 류다로 주게자 대선보대 인도 땅 소마 다바 빼봤네 땅 다 빼서 지금 그런 말 모르요 자 대류 달류 로주들이 로주 땅 로주 소 로주 다바 로주 빼봤는데 다들인데 로주 다바 가서들이 제가 양다 좋아 장바이 로주 다바 시발자스 저 로주 다바 세야데 로초당 드비막 로주데 로초당 드비막이바 그나지라 로주 다바 쓰고 제가 로초당 만데 근데 드비막이바 내지게 로주 중앙이나 그 로주 다바 쓰고 제가 대인도 양다 좋아 장바이 양다가 좋아 지도하고 장바이스 양다가 좋아서 그래서 로초만 이바지서 로초도 타와 로초도 자유 좋아지는 양다가 좋아서
So then it's the verse 21, the first two lines where it says, you should know that the positions are purified by making right livelihood. What it says. So which is again, connects back to the verse 4, that giving away all sentient beings, your body, your position, and your good gain in the past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing. So here there's your position, it's talking about your position, protecting and purifying one's the position here. So what is meant by, positions are purified? It says by making right livelihoods. Whatever the resources or the wealth or the positions one may gain or one may accomplish, making sure that all these accomplishments are by right livelihood, not a wrong livelihood. That is what is meant by the position are purified.
tene loso se adina na se yegan jin loso na na yunda jin loso na ta mo loso na se ada loso na de tani do jiwa na khasa se jira mo tumi khasa se anu shoro se jira ni ni ba chowa se jira tojin jawa se jira tene chushu se jira 제가 대화하다가 로소나 생각주 쇼나 찾아지가 로소들 말해 다들 나고데 또 코로나를 하는 거래 제단아 그래 코로나를 하는 거래 그러나 가사해야 돼 다지는 가사해야 돼 감이 무시하는 거지 왜 가사 모르고 있지 근데 현달에 배는 것이 얘네요 포 코로나야 민대로 코리아 네보지 시니 아니 말하는 이제 완전히 또서 저라고 지나서 근데 코로나 때문에 돈이 아니 바로 버려야 간이 뭐 시니 코로나 여바다 간이 뭐 시바데 토라 때니 코로나야 완전히 또서 중앙이나 때 완전히 가나 로초서 저 양다 좋아 많이 봐. 근데 뭐를 좋아하지 않아. 내지를
So the wrong livelihood, there are 5 kinds of wrong livelihoods here. We talked about it earlier. It is important to all the positions or whatever the wealth that one may have gained. It should be by right livelihood means. It says one should not have and one should not acquire all these positions and wealth are, by wrong livelihoods. The wrong livelihood, there are all 5 kinds. The first, the wrong livelihood is somewhat like a hypocrite. You're just being very, saying something very, you're being hypocrite, or in other words, hypocrisy. That's, we do not mean to say, but you are saying something very good to the person and thinking of getting something from that individual. And if you're able to get that, if you're able to get something from that particular person by being so hypocrite, and that is the wrong livelihood. Whatever the wealth or the position you may have gained out of that, as you have gained this, positions are said to be by wrong livelihood.
근데 쇼롱세 줘래 쇼롱세에 콜로티바레 쇼롱세에 무스가 말랑아지니 아니 계셔도 거라지니 쇼래야 제 랑대지 무스 나를 지금 어디 들어가지 말아지 근데고 도세 계셔도 지고니 인도하냐 랑대야서나 콜론데 뭐들이 되지 시에니 근데 말하는 로제 되지 주나서 되지 토나서 콜론 되지 세세는 토니 근데 시에야 계셔도 빼나 내니처럼 말에 지지게 봐다 빼 별로 좀 야보시는도디 다들 또 주셔서 님을 찾아서 그러지 어디래기다 간다고 제가 내니처럼 돼야 되나 별도시고 좀 야보시는 때문에 님을 찾아서 그냥 요사반지 모든 눈으로 차워로 어디래기 계자기 돌아대니 콜론한테 계좌 돌아대니 어느 소설이야 뭐 주는 거 중요한데 대학로 소화상들 야다 소화를 놓쳐서 장르를
So second kind of wrong livelihood is you're not actually asking that person to give you something that you wanted to, but you're hinting it. For instance, well, you have given me whatever it is, there's something that is given to you by that person, and you said you have given me this last year. Now it is cold. It was very helpful. However, now I don't have this anymore. It's all gone. It's okay to say that. It is a right. But then having a motivation of getting more from that person and saying it and hinting it, then that is the wrong livelihood.
니님이 좋아하세요, 저를. 님이 좋아하세요. 그런 집에 그런데 님이 좋아하세요. 님 파고를 님 주주지 때니 중앙 나서 님 친구지. 거기서 님 친구지. 중나서베. 근데 돈도 그런 세상에 돈이 소소도 제 바로 마시 바이는 다가이는แต่님 주주로 하지 나와. 근데 중앙 대선 님 친구이라 하겠죠. 그런 데 세상에 돈이 반니가 중요지 때니 손님의 친구이 토도나 와대네 님한테야 안 놓쳐서.
So then the third one is you're giving something to person, expecting some more from that person in return. That is one of the third livelihood that we're talking about here. Thinking that if I give him this as a gift at this point, it's going to give me a lot in the future. Yeah, I will be getting a lot more gift from him in the future. If you have this with this kind of motivations and giving someone a gift, it's also a wrong livelihood.
근데 터진 자와서야 줘요. 터진 자와서야 돼야 내가 바저 매래 내가 매신도 내가 매신도 안에 지지 중에 하고도 니니 중에 하고도 지지하고 니제거든 원칙으로 지니 예소선들이야 담아서 되네. 근데 바로 보여야 주 뭐로 맞게 소소의 진들이 보고요 봐지 지주고 지지 계셔 니는 계셔 네 바로 뭐 강다때 지구로 나야 되네 제대 매신도 소소를 통되어 그런 세즈면 근데 시에 카도가 가상이 지지고 이렇게 해야 돼. 어떤 데지가 되니 소소를 먼저 되게 중요해 돼야 뭐 처생들이
So then again, the position that the fourth one is the position that you have acquired by forcing someone to give you, even though the person has no motivation of giving you, is not willingly giving you, voluntarily giving you, whatever it may be. You're actually just forcing directly to that person, or you are indirectly asking someone to force him to give something, whatever that may be to you, and so forth. And this is also this is the fourth wrong livelihood.
다음 아바데 수출생이라고 수출해야 돼. 수출해야 돼. 그런 기발에 양안에 진도들 어머주로 주나와서 tendaci randevu che quello che si mettono ne mai in doce solo solo na jube yo jo tawo na ane be te yu tawo de ji ba yin ya ane ya jin da 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 ke tele be kale ne be zumbo shi be yin to ne be yin do ka wo ji ne ko arso ba ji zun zo do ne da cha wo ji ne de ne jo ke je ne ya ra ko lo ja je 대로 대도 있는 백수한테 것이 왜 있는 내 주시 왜 있는 거지 내지는 타도는 소리지 그런 데 소설이지 비밀도 먼저 또 주나 삼에 대대도 아니 인 소설 타도는 되지만 제니 대대도 아니 로저도 주마 있는 대대로 먼저 받아야 하는 로소사들
The fifth one is with the motivation of getting something from other individual, and one is actually acting oneself to be very humble, in other words, and very perfect individual, just to demonstrate that how perfect and how honest and how humble you are, with the motivation of getting something from that other individual, is the fifth, wrong livelihood.
제가 대인도요. 소설이 중요한 사람이 저라나 사람이 그런 데가 세 맞으면 또 안에 안에 지시하네요. 안내받려 있나. 안내받는 소설 내가라 있는다. 그러나 여기 어느 주나 얘기더니 터진 자가 있는다. 가사 시안에 직한 이거 있는 나와 있는다. 어디 내일 그런 소설을 공부 중요한 그런 데가 제 맞으면 또 안에 그냥 제가 공부하는 지가 있는데 내가 들었더니 중요한 소원이래요. 오늘 없었다고요 말해.
So if one has no motivations of getting something from somebody, some individual, if one says something like the things that you have given to me was very helpful last year, or things that you have given to me yesterday was very helpful, and so on, this is fine. But if you have a motivation there, thinking that if I say that, the person might give me more, then that is the wrong attitude. There's nothing wrong to say that someone helped you and it's, oh, you helped me I said it's been very helpful. You're just being thankful to that person. That's absolutely fine. But without having any motivations of getting more from that individual, that is very, very important to think about that. And similarly, if one is being humble, being modest, and for maintaining humility and so on and so forth, without any motivations of gaining names or fame or getting something from some individual, that's absolutely fine. In fact, it's a good practice. But if you have all of this, the five kind of wrong livelihood that we talked about earlier, is if you have a motivations of gaining something from that individual, and that's completely wrong. If you give somebody a gift out of pure motivations, giving a gift, and if someone gives you in return better than the gift that you have given to, that's fine. No, that's not wrong at all, because you have no intention of getting a better gift from that individual out of giving your gift, your ordinary gift and so forth. But making sure that when one is giving, one should not expect anything in return. Particularly the better than that one is giving to that person.
And then the she and temper GB, temper session will want to know. You come up question the nugget to me and big one only join the want to say now, and then lots of us have chocolate.
Then, in addition to that, again, if someone has stolen something from somebody and he gave it to you, if one accept that by knowing that this person has stolen these things from somebody and give it to you, if you accept that, that's also a wrong livelihood. And also someone who actually, forcefully, got the things from somebody and give it to you, if you know that person is actually forcefully, in other words, robbing and, forcefully taking somebody's belonging, and then that's just giving to you. If you know that this person has done this, you should not accept that kind of gift. Otherwise, it becomes a wrong livelihood again.
And then you do lots of the big marking people want you to, and then Yata Sovas, Yata Sova Jamai, want you Tabashi, but then want you didn't Tabaiba, or Yata Sova, and she went to rest.
So this is what we call the position, that we should know that the positions are purified. That is what means a pure position, in other words, by making a right livelihood pure.
Then Tomba Niji Nimbochi, Jimmy Sana Taba Jurus. Tomba Niji Nimbochi said, and Tomba Nidan, and Niji, other Tony Niji Nimbochi, Tomba Nida Niji Sumjigi, and Lan Nasa, Lebawan, and Regi Lam Karsata Zabata Jachi, Lani Bote, Rami Julia, Jabaina, and Deomagi, Persona. And the judgment which science or judgment which over those things.
So then it says the purification of goodness and happens through motivation, whose nature is emptiness and compassion. It says, with this, if one's combination of one is able to combine the practice of both emptiness and compassion, then this becomes the most powerful means for purification of all.
Tomba you would just Tomba said, Tomba said, Chadam Unit is word. Tomba said, Chadam Unit is Ramun to the Tomares. He must not Tomba Sore. Chadam Maroto to the Tomba Kajamare. Mardu Judge Culture, 20 to which the Moon is the Tomba Yiba, the Toby, and the Sherichiva Ramu Tower, 20 to which Rav Tomba to which Ramu Judge. They do Tomba said, Jimmy said, Ramu Julia, 20 to which Shiramu Judge. Ninja Nibo Ninja said, Lore, 무바스제 단계를 보면 나와 동의 되는지 세워서야. 저다 니제더라 니제 첨부해서 하는구나. 세미 니제서 내가 이러는데 근데 니제서 돼. 니제 첨부를 거고 이제 저다 네 그거 첨부기 쇼잉에서 니제 첨부를 거고 그러잖아. 무바스제 단계를 보면 있어서 뭐 니제 되게 무바스제 단계를 못 가지고 가래. 무바스제 단계를 보면 넘버데 동안의 단계에 아니 제가 세를 지고 제가 단계에 그냥 라면 줘야 무인내수 강의인비 아니 라면 줘 동안답이 시험 치웠지 아니 니제 치웠지 어디 라면 줘야 아니 제발 에스테 지와이나 아니 소나제 친구 아니 다만传좋았는 데도 소나소에 시고 아니 배 자친구지 아니 거기 배도래서
So it happens through the motivation to remove motions whose nature is emptiness and compassion again. It's a emptiness is not something that we have to create ourselves. It's not something that it has not existed and we have to make it. That is emptiness. Emptiness is already there. It is the nature of phenomena. It is ultimate it is actual mode of existence of things in the event. But what we have to do is we have to practice ourselves to understand this ultimate nature of reality. That is what it means here. And emptiness is, we're not talking about emptiness as something that doesn't exist at all, something that we're not talking about something that is non-existence. We're talking about emptiness of inherent existence. That is what we're talking about. So what we should do is, the mode of existence is already there. The problem with us is we're not knowing the mode of existence of things in event. So therefore, we should reflect one's mind upon the inherent existence of things in event, and understand how things really exist, how things appear to us, and how things actually exist. With this kind of practice, will enables one to generate a wisdom that understands the nature of reality, or the actual mode of existence of things in event. With this, one should then generate compassion towards all sentient beings. In this compassion should be understood in terms of great compassion, in the context of great compassion. Great compassion is focusing one's mind on all sentient beings, without exception. All sentient beings should be the object of focus, the focal object of one's compassion, and having an aspect of eliminating or the freeing suffering of all the sentient beings. That is what meant by great compassion. Of course, when we talk about compassion, there are many levels of compassion. Compassion, ordinary compassion, great compassion, infinite compassion, and so on and so forth. Boundless compassion, and so on and so forth. But here in this particular context, when we talk about compassion, compassion should be understood in the context of great compassion. So if one is able to do this practice, one is able to follow this practice, precisely, without any, mistake, then one will be able to perfect one's accumulation merits and accumulation of wisdom. With the development of this tool, one will then be able to, reach the state beyond, what we call the state beyond.
was a giant.
So if you have questions, we'll take some questions.
Okay, I'll ask a question about self-compassion.
What's that?
Self-compassion.
Self-compassion, okay?
Yes. Some time ago, Dhruva Rinpoche gave a talk on self-compassion. In the end, he concluded this clear that practicing self-compassion is something that's taught in the Dharma, and it's really a thing to practice. That having compassion for others is, but one's intent is to help others. That there's nothing that clearly says in the Buddhist teachings that one should do that for oneself. One's intent is to attain enlightenment for the sake of others. So does Geshe-la have some thoughts about self-compassion?
Rangi rangi inji catch to the song was the Messiah was a Nimlange because rangi rangi inji catch. So inji the so rangi rangi inji catch because the Chinese inji catch was the Nimlange of the symbols. Because the program is one of the songs Quran program and the Kashina because that's it. 지난번도 내내제를 거기 제고 되네 슝기나게 믹스기 세브로 되게 장기랑 인지 거래라 또 슝기나 세브로 되게 요마레 되게 수도 기사 되려 콘서트 내려놨어.
제가 좋아하는 가수는 재미있게 sonde 대화가 된다고 참봐. 동화도 된다고 인지했다고 그래. 제가 대중의 인지했는데 가서래. 동화도 된다고 인지했네. 그래서 지금데 있는 뭐 세제 단지를 뭐 쓰는 상보 세제 단지는 나라야 되는데. 대인도 자체적인 마도 라는 이제 저래. 얘네 라는 이제 이제 쳐버려야 말해. 얘네 말을 내 담보서 소소를 뭐 되지. 이제는 그리고 담보때 내지지니 카파 때네. 근데 라는 제 방아도 별로도 요걸어서 되는 게 그렇지. 제가는 이거라. 되는 니지나 라니야 뭐 니지야 매버되네 말해. 쇼는 타지도 요 말했네. 그래서 제가 그렇게 요 말해요.
Although I'm not very sure whether this is having an importance of having compassion towards oneself in any other text. But if we think about very carefully, when we think about generating great compassion, as we discussed earlier, the object to whom we generate compassion is all sentient beings. We're not saying that all sentient beings except me, we're not saying that, right? We are ultimately becoming object of our own compassion when we generate great compassion. We are heart of all sentient beings. That is clear. But when it comes to practicing compassion, compassion should be developed from oneself. It's very clear. If you really practice, if you do not think of anything about yourself, and if one really have no concerns for oneself, of any kind of thoughts or actions that one may take, if we are not neglecting or being unaware of what is happening to oneself, then if one think of compassion for other sentient beings, make no sense at all. So first of all, one should think of oneself. It's a very, very stable way of generating compassion because think of oneself. Just as we always say, just as we do not want to, undergo sufferings, so similarly, all sentient beings too have the same wish to overcome suffering and achieve happiness. So we are, setting oneself as an example, and then generating compassion for other beings, which means that you already generated compassion for yourself. Because you know that I do not want to have this sufferings. Why I do not want? Why this sufferings happen? I should get rid of that. although that I am having compassion for others, I'm not saying that ultimately we're having compassion for ourselves. This is how the practice begins. Compassion for ourselves, and then one's own relatives, one's own surrounding people, and to whom you are close with. And then eventually one is able to extend this compassion towards other sentient beings.
주다 쇼만 나야. 용라게 송대야 니제들아. 니제 친구나 재밌는 니제스 용라 송대그래. 내 니제 친구들나 뭐가서 단지라면 나가도 못 되지 되와대. 재밌는 니제에 세제 체면라. 뭐가서 체면라 뭐니 나가도 못 되지 되와서야 되는 줄에. 얘는 니제 이제 되니 가로 담게 이거야 말해. 오늘 배배기 전에 있는 이거 찾아시면 와서 봐봐. 들으시면 세제 나가도 되는 동안에 그래 니지 세제 뭐 써대. 니지가 뭐래. 세상 대선 니제 마이나 마서 좀 니제 친구 어떻게 가는 요구래. 니제 친구들 니제 종류지 되냐 거니가 공 담에다 배는 니제 친구 뭐 좋아하는 마도 소소로 보면 니제 친구가 자야게 되니 시대 주는 니제 친구 또 다른 요식 뭐 제가 말로 듣는 줄이야. 니제 친구에 대해 대야 네가 보면서 배탄 아니 단지 친구 뭐 제가 말로 듣는 거 줄이네. 신진양다고 되는 얘네들은 동원이 니지서 개인별문이 지마 총알아서 되는 용어도 들어야 니지 내면서 지고 해야 얘네 때문에 이제 니지 좀 걸리는 말이에요.
So although when we talk about compassion in the text, it's mentioned two kinds of compassion: great compassion and infinite compassion. And infinite compassion, or the measureless compassion, and the semic, which means the measureless compassion. So it is again here, it is not necessarily that all the compassion should be either one of these two. If one accepts that if whatever the compassion that we may have, the compassion should be either one of these two, then we will have no compassion, the root of compassion at all. Because we know that we all have a compassion. We have a compassion towards someone who is undergoing suffering. We have compassion towards other animals, such as dog, cat, and so forth. We have compassion towards if we see someone who is undergoing suffering or very destitute beings, we generate compassion. We have this compassion, but this compassion is neither of these two. But we do have compassion. It is because of this compassion that within us, it's a root of our compassion. And it is based on this compassion, we develop measureless compassion or great compassion. Because without having this compassion, there's simply no possibility of developing compassion. If you want to develop something, and there should be some kind of ground upon which we develop the quality, the mental quality. Any questions?
What if you got compassion for, say, a wild dog?
Compassion
For some wild animal,
wild animals, yeah?
and you try to look after that wild animal, and then that wild animal bit somebody, then that would be a case in which compassion did not have a good result.
Okay.
So this maybe is a problem of terminology. What's the answer to that?
Yeah. 생전지게 생전시장내게 그거스 근데 그 세어티스는 전전의 그 세면은 근데 니지케는 아주 생전시장발이야 소개할 지 강에 되고 그러면 그 꼴니지에 되는데 간데 니지 간데 세겠어요 세브도 있어 무슨
배너마다 제세들이야. 니 지어야 되게 신경 내 지어야 되잖아.
내게 되고 그렇지
음.
소개하다 생전시장내게 되고
네.
간데 니지게 없어요 되게 간데 간 니지게 가시 니지 간데 니지게 있어요 문제 간데 저 니지
배너마다 따뜻한데 무슨 니 지어야 되나.
나오나보다
거기서 신이다 세요.
나오나
근데 그 저가 두고를 저 그걸 니 가지 지어야 되는데.
나오다 들려서 그 강으로 데려다고
네. 근데 이제 무슨 니제들 무슨 전에 니제서 유 소원을 잡아 버려라. 가르는 그래서 제세 된다 그 현타 뭔가 소초고요. 제가 이다 소초야 현대가 지고를 다 근데 현대가 지고를 현대가 지야데 저한테 저 상부지면 저 매버지로 저가 매버들더니 코로나에 되게 두개 용어를 뭐 그 저하는 것은 그 몇십 병원이 용어를 뭐 하다 두루를 뭐 몇십 병원 용어를 저 근데 이제 다그 몇십 병원이 그 시간에 받는 단어도 다 대형은 그 저하는 것이 tanıdık diyor ki muhabbet gibi düğün olmandan beri nevan öldürüm bir ben ne koyuyorum böyle tanıcı kağıt sana ki tanıcı mı ne çözde çözre çözde çözde ko karısı var şimdi doğru çözden çavan ne var 시간만 내가 들어야 무슨 일이 제거도 잡아.
So we should have more compassion for those beings, in fact. For instance, not only about just a simple wild animal, but even the tigers, leopards, they're harming others, they're preying on other animals, taking the life of others, but we should have more compassion for them. We should have more compassion for that is because they're doing it without knowing the result. But they need it. It is their livelihood. In order to survive themselves, they have to prey on others. It is because of their past karma, and they are engaging this kind of actions without knowing the result. Yet at the same time, they are accumulating negative karma, and it is because of this. They will go to a lower realms. And by knowing the nature of those animals, we should have more compassion. And how wonderful it is to free these animals from accumulating the negative karma. It is not that animals is something that is very harmful to others. We shouldn't have compassion and so on, but rather we should have more compassion. As we look at, if we look at the 8 verses of training the mind, there is a 4th verse I remember that the ill nature person is a part of that. But we should see it as finding a treasure in that. So we should have more compassion for us.
ninja number domain tantric sewasro. Ninja number domain tantric sewasro. Chanta Paja the Javan, but only Javan, but the doing you ninja number doing the tarot in a general some other. Then Javan number Tane, doing Javan number Tane, and the Musege ninja to shine.
Because when someone, whether be it a human being or animal, whoever, is engaging in negative deeds, a negative deed is the one that causes suffering for that individual. And our very definition of compassion is having a genuine wish to free yourself, uh, of suffering of that individual, whether it be as an animal or human being. So when we see those kind of beings who are indulging in those kind of actions that become the cause for their future suffering, we should have more compassion for them.
저도 세빈하는 집에 그래 무슨일에 배가 두집이 사나시게 소설 안에 내가 지게 가다 때라 뭐니 자바고한테 니지 군이라는 자바 못하요는 저도 봐이 말이죠. 코란 말에 저하는 것들 담발에 년제다들 미시 받은 유명하게 시험도 소리 대체가 년제다 그에 저하는 것들 담발에 되는 마음 걸 누구든 용을 단니지 강타 아사하게 제대로 지도 안에 자바 못하요 아니 별로.
So similarly, our practice of patience. When everybody is doing very good to you, and somebody is very nice to you, smiling at you, there's no way we can practice our patience. But there's no way that we can perfect our practice of tolerance. And practice of tolerance must arise in the scene where somebody is fighting you. Somebody is agitating you, somebody is saying something to you. And then this is how we perfect our practice of patience.
저 등모도 배제돼요. 그 파저도 가지는 집어요로 되나 대고를 니제돼. 그 가지는 집어요로 되나 그걸 동해 주지 마요로 되나 대고. 다들 거기 미시 병원에 동해 주는 필요는 앞에 쌤 맞아 이제 딱 알았어. 어느 또 중요 때문에 제가 말이니 네가 그때 라바샤를 한번 나만 좀 알아서 지어가 되나 이제 니제나는 지금 저게 그래 돈이 걸다.
Because the compassion is the wish to overcome suffering of others, right? Genuine wish to overcome suffering of others. When we see someone who's engaging in actions that becomes the cause for their sufferings, and how can this person, will have happiness in the future because of their present deeds? So therefore, we should become so unbearable by seeing the way they actually engage in their actions, which becomes a very, the cause of their suffering, their future sufferings. And we should have, and with this kind of, when we come across with that kind of animal or other animal or even human beings, ill-natured beings, we should have more compassion for them.
근데 그거보다 내 같은 경우도 아까지 내가 그게 라운드 나는데 나를 라바 가지고 자유와서 가는 그 유전자를 넣으면 나 이걸 내가 보조받을 거 내발 이제 나사오게 제발해서 그걸 누만 대신에 니지에서 더군 나사오게 내 좋아하는 니지에서 저거 봐도 그다음에 제대로 용도 어떤 나지래 아다 라운드 배경이 있나 예르 배경이 있나 그 매히바왕이 용거 보다 너무 중요한 표현이서 대단히 시간에 이제 뭐도 모르겠지.
So whoever and whatever the actions he or she may engage in, and one should think about, they're engaging in that kind of actions without knowing, forced by their own negative thoughts and emotions, in other words, Croatia or ignorance. They're engaging in that, and as a result, they will undergo tremendous amount of sufferings. By understanding that, one should generate a genuine affection or genuine feeling of how wonderful it would be if that individual can stop engaging in that kind of actions and so forth. And this is a very, good cause for development of our practice of compassion. Any questions? Mr. Adam?
One thing I know that, I was thinking about Kim was saying, and the verbiage it has, in different teachings. Can't hear you. Well, it's not that important. Oh, okay. Can we say the dedication first?
I'm doing it.
Being on page 23 and 24, and then continuing with auspicious wishes on page 28. Nagi Jine
Sabe Giovanni, Denandro, Guadagno, Chava, Gisela, Gandavai, Eme, Nivorano, Sanje,
Saji Yuki
Oye, Mendoza, Jera, Nidhi, Sanje, Shindo, Mende, Kovai, Roke, Nandai, Nashirvai,
Kiwa Kudo
Yanda Gamada, Rame Chiche Pelano Chiche, Sada Lanye Yede Rogone, Raje Changi Bhavani Doi,
Yedam Guru
Rena Mendala Gandhi Atayame,
Jesu Mame
Kasera Tenche, Nagatane Jojo Jivana, Rosan Timbe Kime Sasoni, Roye Mese Tatone Guruji, Oye Shinkante Vedante Wamalu Duene, Chire Sima Tense Nyasoye, Shabe Sede Paru Tenguji, Cheda Jinwana, Goto Sempo Deyane, Tera Kunji Jesu Dadochi, Yawana Tamjera Tomo, Jesu Shire Yawa Tamji, Tawa Gana Jodo Mapare, Nage Gire Sawale Gunji, Sambo Jujere Tomo,
Yeah.